They're coming up now. You guys want to come off mute? We're going to do a roundtable with all of our owners. So this is going to be quite the roundtable, guys. And everyone in the chat, go ahead and start going into the QA. What do you want to hear from Beau Roskow, Eric Works, Tim Krupp, and Wade Swykle? These guys know their stuff. They run moving companies, and they are here to give you the straight answer to any question that you have. And so, guys, thank you so much. We're going to jump right into this. It's going to fly by. But the first thing we're going to do is talk about market differentiation. It's the first question I have coming out of the crowd. So market differentiation, let's start with Tim. Tim, in this competitive moving industry, now it's getting more competitive as we were talking about earlier, how do you differentiate your company's services and establish a unique value proposition that sets you and your team apart from the competition? I'm going to go to someone else, Tim, while you got to figure out your microphone. And people are already heckling us. Derek Green is heckling you. Eric, how did you get those rounded deltoids? So it's going to you. Tell us about how you're differentiating yourself, and we'll get back to you, Tim.
Broad spectrum, unique value propositions. I recommend about 5 of them. Everyone uses the same terminology. You know, we pad wrap furniture in the home. So what makes you unique? So I'll give you an example. What makes us unique? We highlight 20,000 plus customers served. We highlight over around 2,500 5-star online reviews. There's 2. We do quality assurance. We do management quality assurance checks on site and through phone call with every move. There's 3. God, I wish I had it in front of me because I'm so hands off. I'm trying to remember so I can give everybody what we have. Oh, we highlight the fact that that the entire company, especially the movers and drivers, are incentivized, and their number 1 goal is to deliver you a 5-star service. It's so adamant to us that we even that don't be surprised if they ask if they've earned it. That's another review driver of ours. And the final one is that we show the customer the accountability checklists that we require from our movers, drivers, and packers, so they see exactly what our expectations are on our movers, drivers, and packers, so that when we do part of our quality assurance check, it's just another thing that gives them peace of mind, and it's another thing that we're using that I guarantee none of our competition's doing. So it just goes back to hey, if you're going to be the most expensive guy in your market, and you want to earn and you've earned the right to charge those rates and make that money, you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you got to sell the customer on that. So I'm a big fan. Every company, and it shouldn't take you long to figure this out. Every company should come up with at least 5 unique value propositions that they can put in their marketing, their scripts, everywhere, that's customer facing, that separates them from their competition when they're selling, because anybody can sell on price. I could have 100% closing ratio if I'm selling moves for $10 an hour. I'm going to go out of business, but I can have 100% closing ratio, so that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I love it. My daughter is an entrepreneur, and I teach her how to sell an orange. And she's like, Dad, but you buy it for 10 cents? I'm like, no, 5 cents. No. Turn it around and say, do you believe in little girls' right to become business owners? Will you buy this orange for $50? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, heck yeah, take all my money, right? Tim, what were you going to add to what Eric's saying about differentiating yourself?
Yeah, I think Eric covered a lot of really good points. I think some of the things that in our companies that we do that maybe sets us apart is we really focus on just really good quality movers, training our movers, and just having the best possible employees out there. We actually would put our movers above the employee. That is more important to us, because we believe that if we pour into them and we care for them and they feel valued, they're going to do great work for our customers, is just as a byproduct of that. As far as things that maybe we do to win jobs and stuff like that, one of the things we're doing right now is we're giving away a lot of storage. Storage hasn't been great this year. Our warehouses have space, so we're giving away 2 months all the time, and that's working really well right now for us, just to win jobs.
That's super helpful. Hey, Beau, this next question's for you. I'm going to keep firing around different questions because they're coming in hot from the audience. How do you deal with a large quantity of product when it comes into inventory? How's your team handling that, Beau?
We handle a large Say, can
Yep.
you repeat
How
that
do
one
you
more time?
deal with a large quantity of product when it comes to inventory is a specific question.
So that's a great question, considering my background is probably more related to inventory control than it is sometimes the moving aspects. So really it's a receiving in process along those lines. So the large quantity is really having a good receiving in. How do you detail your inventory coming in, especially if it's in a large quantity, of having more of a macro approach and being able to get large accurate counts, and then being able to also then follow back up to make sure that you're calibrating what your initial count was to your middle account. And then before any of that inventory goes out, you have that second check. So it's really a 3-step process. You have your initial paperwork. Does all the paperwork match what the actual physical inventory is? Then you have your physical check against that when it's in your possession. And then how do you back check the paperwork when it's going out, that now your physical product matches the paperwork going out? So a good 3-step process should control your shrink and control any type of inventory losses.
That's fantastic. And being a former Walmart executive, I imagine you bring some of that into play with your
There's a
company
lot of
now.
shrink out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wade, next one's up for you. Which is better to pay your drivers, movers, W-2 or 1099? I'm starting out with 1 truck and 4 guys. What about when I grow to more trucks and more guys? Thanks guys for your response is what they said. What do you think, Wade?
Yeah, absolutely. W-2 is the way to go. This has been something that early on, I wished I could have done 1099, but speaking to Eric's point on the unique selling proposition, we use that to sell our services. We say all of our guys are background checked, trained, W-2 employees. Be careful of other moving companies that have 1099s, because some companies do it right. I think Eric does it right, but most moving companies that have a 1099 aren't doing it right. They're cutting corners. They're not wanting to pay taxes. They're not wanting to pay workers' comp. And if they're driving your trucks, using your equipment, wearing your uniform, adhering to your systems and processes, which I'm going to talk to here shortly, they have to be W-2. I mean, from a legal standpoint, but use it as a selling standpoint. It is more expensive to have a W-2 employee, but it is in the long run much more beneficial. You protect yourself, you protect your company, and you can leverage it as a selling point.
Thanks, Wade. Appreciate that. All right, this is for anybody, actually, because I don't know if this applies to any of you guys. The question is, if your moving company is based out of California, how are you handling AB5 with your labor, and what team members, departments are involved with this? Does anybody know the answer to this?
No.
Okay, we're going to move on. Sorry about that. But I figured I'd ask. All right, this one's up for you, Tim. How did you come up with your training protocols?
Yeah. So I think we really started with, as I mentioned on my time, I worked with Louis Massaro. I have his online training programs and stuff like that. And that was kind of like a baseline of something to, like the bones of something to start with. And then it was just testing and seeing what was working. And, we've trained, 25 to 30 sales reps at this point. So we just keep getting better and better at it and just refining it through kind of like repetition.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Keep the questions coming, everyone. They're coming fast. Eric, you're up next. Commission-only sales reps are thorough and hungry, but how truthful are they? The hourly sales reps, more truthful, not pushy. Does this question make sense to you guys? To you, Eric?
Are they asking which is better?
Yeah, commission-only sales rep are thorough and hungry, but how truthful are they? So if you had a sales guy only on, or lady only on commission only, are they going to be more truthful? Are they going to represent well? Or would you rather just go with the hourly reps because they think they're more truthful and not pushy?
So this comes back to like reporting accountability, and you're going to want to have a strong sales management, because the hardest thing is the lead management process. We do things a little bit differently. We actually have what we call move coordinators or sales assistants. They're the ones that take the calls, and then they manage the leads to the proper sales channel. Honestly, like if you want probably a really great, I can tell you us, but someone who sells for a crap ton of companies, I think Tim would probably give the best answer to this question to my humble.
All right, Tim, you again.
Yeah. So all of our sales reps are 100% commission, right? So they do get a draw. So they've got regular money coming in, but then that comes back out of like their commission check and bonuses at the end of the month, right? So that's how we do it. But like Eric was saying, basically it comes down to managing them, right? So if you're worried that they're taking, if commission only is going to like maybe take shortcuts or undercut inventory, that's why you want to be looking at like, you know, like estimate accuracy and looking at those reports and managing them. Salespeople need to be managed. You need to sit down side by side with them and show them how they're doing with reports. That pretty much solves it. Now, as far as like, I mean, I definitely wouldn't do like an hourly salesperson. I know if I was in sales again, I mean, I sold cars when I was building my business. If I ever had to do something else, I would choose sales, and I would want to be 100% commission as a true salesperson. I want to write my own paycheck.
Fantastic.
And that's the people we're looking for. People that want to write their own paycheck.
Hungry, somebody was talking about
Yeah.
hungry and humble, and they're going after it, you know.
Yep.
We're getting a lot of questions on compensation. Beau, I'm gonna keep going around the table, guys. So how would you design a compensation plan for a general manager, maybe operating a 3.5 million operation that has an operations manager underneath them?
I'll answer this.
Okay.
So one of my wheelhouses is compensation structures. And it's all going to come down to what their roles are, what anybody can put a title on anything. You can call an ops manager 5 different things. You can call a GM 5 different things. So it comes down to what their roles and responsibilities are. Okay. In my experience, a true GM, they're gonna make a pretty good sized base salary depending on the size of the company and the KPIs. What I'm going to do is, since if they're the overall big manager of the entire organization, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to incentivize them on the bottom line, a profit share model, and then I'm going to do KPI on 2 different types of net promoter scores, and I don't mean like the review side. I mean like what's the true net promoter score of all the feedback from customers. And then I'm gonna KPI that I'm on a net promoter score on company culture. And you can do that through giving like double blind surveys where you can get honest feedback. And then oh man, I wish I actually had to put it in front of me. And then the next KPI I'm gonna do on that would probably be probably like maybe on like something like on a percentage of growth or something. And I'm not 100% sure on that last one because I actually had this documented. But the 2 I know for a fact is net promoter score on those 2 facets, and I'm going to do some sort of like percentage of profit sharing.
Perfect.
And like what I
James,
manager, you know.
Go ahead, Beau.
and James, I was just going to add in, maybe go a little more science. I think Eric hit some really good points, but come all the way back initially. I think when you start with a job description, you're already shortcutting. What is your overall structure of your, how many job descriptions do you have? And what's your overall wage budget in general? So as you start to prioritize your positions, they should be a percentage to your overall expense revenue to begin with. So then as you come down, you would actually have ranges. So what's their experience level? Are they a low range, a mid range, high range? So as you start establishing what each of those minimum maximums are per each of your bands, as you get to your top level positions, those total compensation packages then look a little different, because compensation isn't just in salary. It could be some of the fringe benefits. It could be some of the expense things that the company takes for them, company cars. So to go back to the GM aspect, to just give a broad piece, I think Eric hit, it's way too hard to just say, hey, I'm a GM. Volume can dictate other things. You shared my Walmart experience. Running a $250 million super center is different than running a $5 million neighborhood market. Yet the job description is the same, but the scale and scope of the position changes. So all of those things have to take into consideration for your own organization, always starting with your financials, considering your payroll is your number 1 expense, and build off those percentages. I hope that helps.
Yeah, great, Beau. Wade, you're up next. Question is, stuck in a smallish market with 5 trucks and 12 guys, what is one recommendation you would give to start growth? Our local market is about 200,000, with the large market about 30 to 45 minutes away, but with tons of competitors.
Yeah, sometimes the small markets can be the most profitable markets. Our original location was in Gainesville. It's now a franchise, but that's about the same size, between 100 and 200,000 people, built around a college town. And the best thing you can do is meet everybody in that community, because in small communities, the word just travels so fast when you provide a great service. When you can consistently provide an excellent service, people are going to want to tell their friends and families about you. And you can actually be extremely profitable in a small market because there's not that much competition. You might have a couple other competitors, but Gainesville's our highest priced market and it's our smallest market. And we have the biggest margins because the cost of doing business there is lower, and we can charge more because there just aren't a lot of reputable moving companies up there, and the talent pool is just a lot smaller. So we can pay our guys a little bit less than maybe somewhere like a big city like Tampa. Vendors are cheaper in a small town typically, but in a small market where there's not a lot of competition, you can charge a lot more and actually become a lot more profitable. But you have to be able to back it up with providing a raving fan experience for your customers, where they're excited to go off and tell all their friends and family. Get in front of every realtor. You should have a list. You can get it off your MLS of every realtor's cell phone number, schedule coffee meetings with them, do presentations for their offices, get in with the builders associations, become a pillar of that community, and you can be a big fish in a small pond.
Love that. Tim, next one's up for you. This one is actually directed at you. Tim, what's a healthy commission rate and hourly rate to draw? Or would you do a salary draw?
Yeah, so I think we're doing $15 an hour is like the draw money, right?
Got it.
So our inside reps are making they started about 7% of the sale, right? And depending on volume and closing ratio and things like that, they can get as high as 11%. All right. So for our inside salespeople, all right. So it's like a tiered structure. And then there's also several different bonuses that they could hit to keep it exciting. Our on-site people are making between 6 and 8% straight commission. And then of course there's a bonus for hitting your goal each month. And that bonus could be like a 0.5%. Doesn't need to be, crazy huge bonus. You want them to get that money.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Eric, it's coming to you next. Following Tracy's presentation we just had on finance, what profit margin are you aiming for in your business? You're on mute.
So I think industry average is somewhere between, and I think the van lines skew this a lot. I think it's somewhere between like 6 and 9%. I'm always shooting for somewhere between 15 and 20. And full transparency, my P&L is a little bit unique. So like what my moving company shows is my bottom line profit is not what I as an owner put in my pocket. For example, like, and there'll probably be some other owners here who know what I'm talking about. My moving company pays my asset holding company rent for the building. My moving company pays another asset holding company for long-term leases of the trucks. So Eric, the owner, as a collective, doesn't have debt, but the moving company pays marketable rates to those other entities. That's more of a liability play, So, but I try to keep things apples to apples. And do we always reach that goal? No, we make mistakes like everybody else. We go through tough times like everybody else. But like overall, big picture, and then the bigger you get, the harder that can become. And every company has like different types of fixed costs. So like no, but overall, like you're kicking butt. You're kicking butt, in my opinion, if you're doing between 13 and 20% bottom line as an independent. And that's especially if you're between the 15 and 20% bottom line percentage of NOI of as a independent out here. Van line, it's a whole different ball game.
Got it. Good stuff. Beau, you're up next. Why don't you talk a little about how much investment you do into your own leadership and professional development? How much time? And are you always getting this? Will this 100% help your business grow is the question.
Absolutely. I don't, just like mental, physical wellness, if you're not investing in yourself, you're ultimately not investing in your company, because your company is what you do. So when you look at a percentage and we would go back, what percentage, and I do a self-reflection this, am I spending my time on the business versus my time in the business? And we all know the business has different seasons that's going to pull at the harmony of where you need to be and when you need to be there. But almost back to Tracy's standpoint, if you're not planning your time out of where you need to be, both from a professional standpoint, a personal standpoint, you're just robbing yourself. So the three things I'd always say: stay curious, learn something new every day from somebody on your team, from if it's the guys on the truck to the ladies in the office to where learn something new every day that you can share, and then set a goal to be able to measure that, to share it with somebody else. So stay curious, learn something new, and then go out and share what you knew, what you learned with somebody else.
Thanks, Beau. Wade, the next one's coming to you. And then guys, after Wade goes, I'm going to go rapid because the questions are coming. Our time's running out. Wade, this one is directed to you, actually. Wade, I'm interested in hearing your perspective on direct mail. What are your insights on its effectiveness? Additionally, could you provide some recommendations for essential details to include in a postcard campaign? And lastly, what would be considered a favorable callback ratio for a postcard campaign of 100 postcards?
Yeah, great question. Direct mail is consistently one of our top sources of new business every single month, if not the top source every single month. There's a lot of psychological science to creating a effective direct mail piece. A great book that I recommend on learning more about that. There's a couple actually. One is the No BS Guide to Direct Response Marketing for Non-Direct Response Marketing Businesses by Dan Kennedy. And then there's another really good one by Donald Miller named called Building a Story Brand. And you want to have something that stands out from your competition, because especially if you're in a big city, they're going to get inundated with mailers when their home goes up for sale listing from other moving companies. And B, you want to resonate with your ideal customer. So figure out who your avatar is, who's your ideal customer, put a picture of somebody like that having a great time on the front. Maybe the movers are in the background, a truck's in the background. List anything that can help you look credible, any kind of awards you won, your 5-star rating on Yelp or Google or wherever you have that, the associations that you're a part of. Give some sort of an offer. On ours, we list free storage solutions. We have discounts for seniors, military, veterans, first responders, and healthcare workers. And then we also offer free packing materials. You want to keep it kind of vague because you want them to call and find out more about what that offer is and give your sales team an opportunity to sell on it. I mean, there's a lot of little things you can do. It's really something that you can study, for a lifetime. I mean, it's buyer psychology basically. And, what I see all the time is like I think somebody mentioned earlier, like stock images on your website. Like, don't put stock images on your postcard. Don't just put a picture of like your movers and your trucks on your postcard. Like, do something that the customer can relate to, where they can identify as the hero of the story, and then have some kind of a call to action on there too, and use tracking numbers so you can see how much you're getting. As far as the second part of that question, I mean, typically direct mail, you're going to get a response rate of 1 to 2%. That's pretty normal. But you're typically going to want to set up an on-site estimate when you get those calls. So it's important to have those tracking numbers and to ask how they heard about you, because those are going to be bigger moves most of the time. Usually, if somebody's listing their home, it's worth an on-site. So definitely recommend that for anybody who's not doing direct mail. But do it the right way. Study it. Learn as much as you can about how effective direct response marketing works, and it can be really good. I've seen companies who don't succeed with it, and it's usually because their mailer isn't designed strategically. So definitely do your homework and research on that.
Thanks, Wade. All right, rapid fire, guys. Here we go. We're going to go around the table. Start with Tim. When do you know it's time to hire a business development manager? How would you structure their pay, and what kind of personality are you looking for?
We don't have a business development manager. So I imagine that's something we would do in the future. But I would probably, Eric, do you think that you would put that in advertising budget? Would you look at it that way and look that you had like excess advertising budget?
I would
to start with. Yeah.
We had at 10 million, we decided to bring on that position. And then that position did not last long, because, this is full transparency, this hasn't been the easiest year for moving, so that was something we cut out right away. But the intention was to have that position. I have a great job description on a business development manager. Wonderful job description, beautiful. I didn't create it. Allison did a fantastic job. I'd be happy to share that with anybody who would do that. But typically, and I could be wrong, speculation. Typically, it would, a lot of your larger companies bring that on. We didn't even think about it. It wasn't even a thought process of our organization until we got around the low 8-figure mark. So I'm only speaking for our mindset on that. I could be wrong. There could be for all I know, there could be smaller companies out there who have done this and are knocked out of the park. I have no idea. Just speaking from my experience.
That's great. Beau, you're up next. Building off of a previous question, how do you compete with a saturated market like New York City, New Jersey area, where New York City companies are flooding the market with low ball prices? How do we pitch ourselves against a low price?
So I think a lot of that is not trying to be what you're not. I mean, part of that market insight is you got to know what your competitors are, and then it comes all the way back to your differentiator. Sometimes trying to be everything to everybody is only going to slowly kill you. So where is your strength? Where is your competition's gaps? And then how do you align your resources to take what market position is left there to really enhance that and then grow from there? And then you add your ancillaries to cover your blind spots. But if you just try to jump right in and play with competitors that are already market penetrated, already have that, that's a really uphill battle. You have to really bring something different. So find what they're not and maximize those tokens and then build off of those new strengths.
That's great. Wade, you're up next. For those with multiple locations, how do you create that personal feel when you can't be everywhere? We run out of 3 locations with hours of driving in between. How can I make coffee chats, presentations, etc. when I'm covering so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's part of the reason we're franchising, is because I believe in having that owner presence. I'm going to be talking about systems and processes pretty soon here. And you can definitely get away with, if you have a good manager in place that's going to go that extra mile and go to all the networking events and reach out to those people. But just if you're not wanting to franchise, just put a process into place and create a scorecard for, how many realtors did you reach out to this week? Out of those, how many converted to a meeting? How many presentations do you have lined up this month? I think creating a scorecard and making it part of your system and process, if you're going to require an employee to do that. But I really do believe in having an ownership presence in a market, because, they're going to be the ones who put in that extra time and effort to go to the after hours stuff or the before hours stuff, or, to always be looking for local market opportunities. And if you have a really good employee, a rock star, I'm not saying that they won't do it either, but when there's like a what's in it for me behind it, that definitely helps a lot. That, the what's in it for me with an owner is increased business. But you could find that in an employee too, if you hire the right person and have the right process and scorecard assigned to them.
Perfect. Thanks, Wade. All right. Last question goes to you, Tim. We only have less than 60 seconds on the clock. So, Tim, this one's directed to you. How do you structure your daily sales meetings?
I actually don't do them anymore, but we do have like a quick stand-up sales meeting every day at MoveBees, and they just do some quick house cleaning stuff. And then just something encouraging. Sometimes it's a video. A lot of times that we'll talk about how somebody is doing something well, or they've done something very well, or hit a goal or something like that. But it's just very simple. Like our daily meeting, it's like a 5-minute stand-up thing. So